Hi everyone. I was inspired today to paint a beautiful mandala, and that is the results. 20 on 20 centimeters mandala. All materials as usual in description box below this video. Hope you enjoy. Please press like button, subscribe if you want to support my work. Patreon channel. Link is in description box below this video, and let's start it. So base already covered with black acrylic paint. We are finding the center. It's pretty easy calculations, and lines I'm doing every 15 degrees, and just that simple. Circles I want to do every 1 centimeter, and usually I'm using pretty simple instruments, everything that we used to in school. So, but obviously you can do this with instruments that you are used to work with. And when it's finished, let's talk about the paint. So I wanna create some beautiful tones, so definitely we'll mix these three and create one custom color to create this beautiful like dark purple petals like you see on light peonies. And these the light colors that I did find and in my palette and decided to use this, and the lightest one I will mix to create a little bit more custom paint. You can use one of this light one or white to create custom colors. 3 drops. I got some really nice tones. I didn't decide at the beginning what exactly I will use. So you see this color is pretty nice in the palette. So everything will be in description box below this video, what at the end I did use, and let's start it. So first central dot I will create like to show you, you saw in some peonies they got this dark purple center part. So this is my first custom color. All percentage how I did create this tone in the description box below this video. So we can come back a couple of times to add more and more paint on our dot and shape with the shape of our dot with thin tool as you saw on the video. And yeah, after everything dry out, I will put definitely something on the top, but I will do this later on. First row of dots I'm creating with the color Baby Blush. And you see I'm just moving around as close as I can, but not touching each other, and moving by one. You can add later on more paint on your dot. So for now just leave enough space between dots and moving like that. I'm inside of my first circle line as you see on the video, like that. Really nice. The next row I will use the next beautiful tone that I found in my palette. Technically this is my second custom color. Also you can find percentage in description box below this video, and you see I'm placing my dots on the spaces between previous row of dots. Again, as close as you can, but leave enough space so your dots are not touching each other. Later on we can put more paint on the top, and I'll show you at the end of this video. The next one, again the same way, placing between dots you see on the video, and the color is blush pink, really beautiful, like I want to say umami tone. So it's so rich. It's not bright at all, but it's so rich and so working nicely with so many different palettes. I'm like really inspired to create more with this tone, but use it with another palette, and this will work perfectly. And I did this already. So once we finished, we are letting everything obviously dry out, and later on we can add more paint on the top and add with more details between dots. Coming back to my first custom color, and again I'm placing dots on it, my second circle line you see on the video, and again using spaces between my dots that I just created. Because we're making these dots bigger, a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, you see how it works. It's still dimensions plus minus working for us. Again, we can come back later on and add even more paint on the top to make our dots popping out from the surface more and more. But for now, we're leaving this to dry out, to not mess it. And I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 circle line from the center to create this dot with my first custom color. And I'm doing 4 of those. I will create 4 flowers, and lines I'm placing this on. This is the longest lines to connect it our angles, because the shape of this mandala is square, so we kind of need to play with this like that. Again, you can put more paint on top, shape this dot, move the paint, let it dry out, and later on we will put something on the top of this dot to make it even more interesting. But for now, moving forward, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create dots over there on the top, and I'm using the same first custom color again because I'm planning to do later on something, to place something on the top. You see these dots again, as close as you can, not touching each other. And with smaller tool, I'm putting more dots around. You can count them, definitely. I'm not doing this, I'm just moving around, but again, not completely around these dots. You can see on the video, just like 2/3 maybe of our dot covered. So base of my big dot is empty because I will place something later on over there, because I already know plus minus how you want to see this. That's why I'm leaving this place not covered. And moving forward, I'm putting, just to make it more interesting, you see from this circle line 4 dots around. The color I'm using, that blush pink we talked earlier, really just to make it a little bit more interesting. You can place small strokes if you wanna, or smooshes actually will work in this case, but I saw this at the dots, so that's why I place it like a dot. And now moving around with small brush, 1.5 millimeter long, centimeter long, and moving around like that, starting from the circle line, moving. I'm not going too long, just touching each other. Color I'm using baby blush, really beautiful, nice, like light pinkish tone, but really light. Obviously you can create this with light pink tone and white paint if you don't have this particular tone in your palette. Moving forward, I want to create nice petals on the top over there with our second custom color, starting from this circle line second from our base that we just created. And moving around, you see my strokes are not touching each other, really nicely close to each other, but not touching each other. And the same brush, 1 centimeter long. Really nice. I really like to work with this brush, even it's really was not too expensive when I bought it. So as usual, when you're asking me guys about the brushes, I'm using different ones. And with white peach, we're creating more strokes lower. You see, I'm starting from the circle line lower and just moving around again. End of my strokes are not going too deep yet, just a little bit around like that. Maybe it's not so visible on the video, the different tones. That's why, guys, I'm telling you the name of the paint I did use. And next one, I'm going up a little bit for a couple of millimeters. The color is blush pink again. And you see how nicely and like wider our peonies becoming. And I like it. That's why this way we are working with the space, with this square surface and obviously angles that we got with the shape of our base. Really nicely, pressing nicely, so we got this line on the top of our strokes. And I'm using a little bit maybe bigger brush to make longer strokes. You see, I'm already prepared, so I want to go around to make this even more beautiful. So our second custom color, and I'm moving around. Starting from these lines you see on the video, I marked these spaces, and this brush a little bit longer, maybe 2 centimeters long. So I want to use longer brushes to create like longer strokes, because again, more paint on a brush in this case. Moving around, again, I'm not touching my dots at the center. You see, I'm leaving enough space over there. I want to be pretty careful from the beginning, so base of my flowers will be really nice and like that. Okay, we can play around, and obviously we will, to make our flowers like wider. Starting over there, the paint I did use, this is our baby blush again. So I'm starting from this circle line, so my strokes are getting from the one. Technically this is the same circle line, but it looks like it's getting lower. So moving like that around. We're coming back to the smaller brush, and I want to add a little bit more petals over there. First custom color, I see I'm going a little bit inside because I saw the space and I want to like separate the same tone of strokes. If you don't have enough space, you can use or thinner brush or just, for example, go with a couple of dots to just add another tone. You see, we got a lot of space over there now on the top, and I wanna play a little bit and recreate petals. There is nice petals that Peonies got, and it's so like beautiful, so why not? We can play with this space and kind of recreate what we can see when we are looking at these beautiful flowers. I'm using the same white brush. You can use smaller brush, baby blush tone. I'm starting from this second from the edge, actually circle line. Again, I'm not going too deep. You see, I'm leaving this like lightly, just removing my brush at the end, so I'm not touching another strokes. And again, over there, I can play with more different tones to recreate different petals. So second custom color, I started a little bit lower, and end of my strokes, you see it's going to the same space. Literally, I'm finished my strokes at the same place that I finished just previous ones. And really, you can technically leave it in another space, but in this case, it will looks like at the end a little bit more like part of the painting and not like too chaotic. But again, move with your inspiration, because obviously, first of all, you're creating your own art, and second of all, you might create something else. Why not? So this time I'm going with blush pink. Sorry if you can hear, it's so windy outside and rainy. Baby blush, and starting a little bit lower, because again I'm working with the shape of our mandala, and ending my strokes literally at the same space. If it's a little bit not like you like, you can remove until your paint is fresh, but be really careful because all paint is fresh. And remember, if you're scared to move with all the process at one time because you don't want to mess up with strokes, you can wait until dry out and move with a nice next part later on. Smaller brush I will use, and just a little bit more strokes over there, just playing with the space. White peach color, just to add a little bit more nice tone to our palette, like that. Beautiful. And over there we got some space. You can play with this, or you can start big strokes around, and I decided to go this way. Blush pink again, bigger brush, and we are moving around really careful at the end. I'm just using the space because of your custom painting may be within us dimensions, so just use your space. I'm just placing my brush at the space between the strokes like that. And nicely creating this line at the center of our strokes. So let's play with the space between flowers now to manage to make our flowers balanced. So I will play definitely like between our strokes. Second custom color, I'm starting a little bit lower, like maybe 1 centimeter from the edge. A nice brush, obviously, I'm using to create really nice strokes. Be careful at the end to balance your flowers and not make this too heavy end, and not, please don't touch this central circle of dots. Like that. The next one, this space we can use with 3 drops later on. You don't need to fill everything. but you can definitely move with strokes also. Going a little bit up, and color I'm using is white peach. Really nice, beautiful strokes. And as you can see, I'm really nicely playing with the space between flowers and like balancing flowers and the space, because it's interesting way, but even base color still working as a part of our painting, even if it's black. Just balancing a little bit. You can come back with a brush. Remember, this is a brush and you can do a lot with brush. And again, I decided to go with second custom color and create nice strokes around, because I want to add more pinkish tone to this. And I'm moving as close as I can. In my case, my strokes are touching. If you can save some space between, this will be really nice. But even in this case, you see my strokes are touching. It looks really still amazing. And you see, I really like how it works. How this now, we created this paint by how like these black spaces looks like a flower also. So I decided to, with the brush, just balance a little bit my strokes, and this way like kind of balance these black spaces. Look how beautiful it is. Really nice. Just a little bit, just make it a little bit. With small brush you can do this. So now I want to play with these spaces. Look how beautiful it looks like, really like a black flower, if you are looking from the perspective that light colors are base. So I decided not to put too much in these spaces because I want to still show those. And I decided to go from this line and create like petals like that with our first custom color. Pressing, going really careful and releasing our brush, and try to make some space between the top of your strokes, because we can later on add some nice details. If your strokes are not touching each other, it looks like a little bit more interesting, I may say. You can start to play with this part when everything dry out, so you are not worried, and if something goes wrong you can remove easily your paint. So yeah, just wait until your all previous layers of paint dry out. And again, some space left, so we can add more strokes with a smaller brush over there. Again, you may wait until this one strokes dry out. My second custom color, and I'm moving really careful. Again, you see my stroke a little bit more wide than I wanted, so I'm removing paint. But again, if you're worried this is happening to, that's why I'm not removing and cutting these pieces of video. I want to show you that sometimes it doesn't look like I want to and I'm removing paint. But yeah, you need to be pretty careful with fresh paint. Like that. You can completely remove the strokes. Just because I'm still moving with the same tone, I'm not like removing it completely. Again, if it's possible, leave some space between top of your strokes And be really nicely careful at the end, at the base of your flower, like that. Beautiful. We need to wait until everything out, definitely. And now everything out, I want to show you how you can add some more paint on your dots. You can use the same or smaller tool and the same obviously tone, and by one going and putting more paint on your dots. And this way, when everything out, your dots will be more popping out from the surface. And you can do like that every second row, and in this case you're not messing up, you know, until your paint dry out. So I did it already with all rows. I just want to show you this one to show you that this is possible to make your dots pretty like 3D, even if you are not using special paint, we just with regular paint, like that. And I want to play with my spaces. So first of all, I wanna, as I said, wanna add a little bit tone, another tone over there. I wanna create, so I'm using a smaller tool and putting dot on the top. The way, so base of dots will be on the same level, like that. So technically in this case, the base of dots on the same level, and you still, you can see the paint you used for first layer. And I'm using my second custom color, in this case, this pinkish one. You can add like enough paint, so this will be really beautiful. And on this big one, I also, with a small tool, just on one, on central one, I'm also adding my second custom color, like that. I will wait until this dry out so I can move forward after that. But while I'm waiting, I can add small strokes over there, again with my second custom color and small brush. You can use 1 centimeter or even half of centimeter brush as I'm using. Starting over there on the base of my dots and carefully moving around. And again, you can make small strokes, the shape you wanna. I'm not going too deep with this, I'm just using this black space, like that. And when it ends dry out, I can add more 3 drops on the top. And over there you can do the same, you can add layers of your paint later on. So I will use Love Poison, 3 drops. Everything dry out, I forgot to say, I'm coming back later on. For the central dot, you see I place really nice, beautiful dot on the top. And with Heritage Rose, I'm placing 2 dots between these dark, nice dots. And these 3 drops really like nicely, like nice, got nice tone, like deep color. And you see I'm using like bigger on the top and second one a little bit smaller. If you don't like the shape, again, everything are out, so you can easily remove. As you see, I did it already because I decided that dot like too big. So you definitely can play with this now. And this one I didn't like, so again I did remove because my paint dried, so I can like play with this. So it's not a problem. That's why sometimes we just need to wait and like 30 minutes maybe and move forward with our painting. Let's move forward. We got really nice spaces over there, especially if you manage to leave some space between. Love Poiton inside like that. And with needle, or you can use thin tool, I'm making nice tails up between my strokes. You can leave it like just a drop if you wish. Heritage Rose, I'm using these spaces, and Love Poiton again on the top, and because I got some space I'm making this a little bit bigger. And again tails towards the sand. Really nice, and look at these small details and looks completely different. So again over there I'm going with Heritage Rose and on the top of this small one too. Firstly I'm placing dots, and with thin tool, or you can use needle, going down between my strokes like that. More spaces to play with. Again, I'm giving you like example, but you can use how you want. I'm going with 2 on the top of each flower, and again thin tool or needle, and create nice tails up and down. That's why I'm leaving spaces between strokes, because after that we can really play with this space. And Heritage Rose over there. And you can leave it like just like that, or I decided to go with small tails around, and kind of this way recreating like petals, but you can like do it this your own way, definitely. And some space over there, so I'm not using all spaces when I could put 3 drops. You can do this yourself. I'm adding just 3 over there, and with a needle I'm creating nice tails. This one is going between strokes, and this kind of a little bit around, but also between strokes. Be pretty careful because all 3 drops are fresh, so be careful when you're doing this. And it's ready. Look how beautiful it is. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoy your painting. Press like button, subscribe, join my Patreon channel. A lot of tutorials over there for free for my subscribers, and see you on next video. Bye.